same goal, and that is to protect our country. We're all in agreement. Certainly, I want to thank my good friend Todd Staples. We go back since the state legislature, and appreciate all the work that you've done, and the generals and everybody. And I want to make sure that my friend Michael McCall understands that I just have some questions, and we're all on the stage, but I just have some questions, and again, no disregard to our military folks, but I just want to ask some questions. Being from the border, I have three brothers are peace officers. One's the border sheriff. One was DPS narcotics intelligence officer for 27 years. I got two other peace officers there. My family lives there. My two kids live there. I've lived there all my life. I was Governor Perry's Secretary of State, so I understand both the border and the Mexican side. So we go. I used to be the chairman of the budget for DPS and the Texas Rangers, so I understand all of that. So I just wanted to give you this as a background. But my first question, if I could have slide number 1 go up there and ask y'all one question, because the crux of the report is this. Generals, I don't have a problem with what's happening in Mexico. I understand it's a very violent situation, but I do want to say for the record, I think we have the best working relationship that we've had with the Republic in Mexico in the last 175 years. The cooperation is just amazing. There's been a shift in paradigm in working with them. And we need to continue working with them. But there's two things that y'all said in the report that really upsets a lot of us that live on the border. Because you make it sound like there's no nice people living on the border. One is, your quote was, doing business in the border, in a border county, is like doing business in a war zone, number one. Number two, the citizens on the U.S. border, Texas side, are under constant attack. I think it was 24 hours a day. Those are the 2 points that I want to mention that I'm really focusing on. Let me ask you this. If you look at the chart over there, you look at the chart and you'll see certain things. You'll see the border areas, El Paso. This is a murder rate per 100,000. You have El Paso, Bronzeville, all that. Then you have Houston, Dallas, Long Beach has the highest one, 14.2. Then I think the highest ones in the nation are Gary, Indiana, and New Orleans at 51, almost 51 murders per 100,000 itself. Would you, and by the way, Washington, D.C. is at 23. We're here in Washington. Would you call Washington, D.C. a war zone?
Well,
just a yes or no.
The questions are never answered with yes or no.
Well, okay, I'm asking you just...
I'm not going to answer a question with yes or no. I think what we're doing is we're talking by each other.
General,
the murder rate in El Paso does not take into account the 50 murdered Mexican nationals in that county that Dr. Victor takes into account. If you want to use the language war zone, you have to go to that rural community. El Paso is a beautiful, vibrant place where the hospital is so fearful that they want their own police force to guard against Mexican criminals coming in to get wounded cartel members.
General, thank you. The other general, is Washington, D.C. a war zone?
No.
Okay. But looking at those numbers, you all came out with a conclusion that Laredo, El Paso, McAllen, all those areas are a war zone. Is that correct?
No.
Not what we... and look at your report. And you got paid, you were paid $80,000 as former military taxpayer dollars to make this report. Is that correct?
We had 5 people work 4 months on this report, and I assure you, if you know what he makes and
sir, I'm sorry.
I assure you,
General, without due respect, General.
Will the gentleman yield for a second? I do think these are respected generals. I believe we need to show them respect and answer the question.
Okay. Well, let me ask my question again. Were you paid $80,000? Yes or no?
Let me ask you: are you suggesting that this report had political or monetary motivation? If you are, sir, that is a shameful comment.
Let me say something, General.
Because my dedication to this country was based on 32 years of service.
General, a statement was just made by your colleague there that said, "Let's cut through the politics." All right, it was just said. And
please
also,
do not turn this into an ad hominem attack on my motivation for this study. You, sir, should not raise that point.
I'm just asking a simple question. Were y'all paid $80,000? Just yes or no?
You are asking a provocative question
For the record,
I'm not going to accept.
For the record, my understanding is that we're paid $80,000 for the report. There's nothing wrong. Y'all are making a profit. Let me ask you.
No, we did not make a profit. We lost a considerable amount of money.
All right. $80,000. Now, let me ask you, let's go general scales. Let me ask you this question. You're a PhD from Dukes, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a PhD. I'm an attorney. I looked at your report. All I found was anecdotal evidence. I think if I would have done my dissertation or a report, I would have got an F if I would have put no citations, a bibliography, and we'll talk about your bibliography in a few minutes, no footnotes. Don't you think anybody that would read this as a PhD would have gotten an F in their report?
Well, not only have I done a PhD, I've done 6 books and about 300 scholarly articles, so I know a little bit about how to write. No, that's not how we did it. What I suggest you do is have your staffers go into our bibliography. Most of it's available online. Over 200 citations are online.
Right.
I did say, but look, the issue is not that. The issue is not about what's happened now or what's happened in the other last 10 years. What I'm concerned about is the future. What we're suggesting is what's happening on the Texas border is in many ways a canary in the coal mine.
Can you tell me?
A harbinger of the future. And our concern is that if it's neglected, particularly in the rural areas, the nation will pay a very high price.
Can I ask you this question? What scientific instrument did you use for measuring this report? What validity did you use? What universe did you use? Or was that all anecdotal?
No, it wasn't anecdotal. And if you go through the report and look at the bibliography, you'll see that.
All right. We'll do that in a few minutes. Let me ask you this question. Your report cites, and I'm trying to find your evidence. But your report on pages 24, 28 uses the anecdotal information that is directly picked up from the Texas Agricultural website. Is that the information you used to show the violence on the border? Because apparently you disagree with the FBI statistics. Is that correct?
I agree with the Department of Justice's statistics on which we relied for a lot of this information, and also the General Accounting Office and other federal agencies. And if you're, if you have that much trust in federal statistics, so be it. We added an anecdotal section because we thought that the concerns expressed by ranchers and farmers were so poignant and so well stated, as Dr. Vickers just did, that some type of anecdotal reinforcement of our statistical data was probably pretty useful, because it talks about the human side of this, not the statistical side of that, and you seem to be missing that point.
Well, let me see what you missed. How many people did you interview?
I'm sorry, say it again?
How many people did you enter a report?
I didn't hear what he said. How many people? What?
How many people did we interview?
How many people did you talk to make this report?
Well, look, first of all, it seems to me...
let me just ask the question.
First of all, it seems to me that this report was based primarily on federal reports that are published.
All right.
Secondly, it's based on my personal 15 years of dealing with the border in Mexico. And finally, we added, I think, and Dr. Scales has correctly stated, we tried to listen to the voice of Texas law enforcement and Texas rural people. That's the basis, the qualitative basis behind this report.
My question is very simple. How many individuals did you personally interview to come up with this report?
I don't know. I interviewed